Hello everybody, Corey here. In this video, we're going to be going over the single stock ETFs and YBIT. Just a reminder, I'm not a qualified licensed investment or financial advisor, and that YieldMax ETFs are extremely risky. Please make sure you understand what you're investing in. Before doing so here, you could have a significant loss of capital. So I am in the vehicle on my way to Tennessee trying to get these videos knocked out for you guys. So you may hear some unusual background noise from the drive. I will do my best to try to talk over most of it, I hope. So anyway, Friday, of course, most of you know, unless you're new, is the day that they do most of their trades for the week, because that's when the short calls expire. So we will be, it will take us longer than normal to get through these because there will be a lot of trades for us to go over, but then you also get to see what the strike prices are for next week. So what we do, we'll be going back and forth. We'll look at the trades, then we'll look at the holdings, and it's in alphabetical order with the exception of Crash, which will be after Zomo, and then after that we will do YBIT. Oh, and I also said I would do an update for the comparisons for the week, but I just realized I probably didn't do that. We'll check out the sheet, I guess, at the end, and then if it's not done, I can always do a separate video. I would have to jump on my computer. But anyway, we're going to start out with AIYY, and I'm going to do my best to get through these, as quickly as possible, but, it still takes a while. So please feel free to fast forward to the very specific ETF that you want to look at, unless you just want to look at all 20 or so ETFs that we're going to be going through here. So anyway, we're going to start off here with AIYY. So we can see here they had two short calls that expired on Friday with a 32 and a 33.50 strike price. We closed at 29.04, so we were under that, so they were able to close these out for 1 cent a share. So alright, so it looks like they rolled those to next week to one strike price of $29.50. You can see they brought in 38 cents a share there. So overall, they actually brought in $467,000 there. So let's look at our holdings. We can see there that that's our new short call. We also had a short call for $31.50. So we have $29.50, which were only, if you look, on Thursday we closed at $30.49, and then Friday we closed at $29.04. And they made that new short call $29.50. So we're just 46 cents away from that. Or 2 cents away. 2% away. And then we have the one that we already had, the $31.50 strike price, which are under 8%. So based on this, it looks like for our short calls, we only have about a 19 cent upside here for those. And then if we move on to AMDY, it looks like we did not have any trades. So let's look at AMDY. So they have two short calls that expire next week. 165 and 167.50 strike prices. We're currently under those 3 and 5%. It looks like we only have about a 31 cent upside here for the short calls. Let's move on to AMZ. So they closed out the short calls that expired on Friday with the strike prices of $187.50 and $190. Looks like our new strike prices are $185 and $187.50, and we're currently at $183.66. So it looks like they paid 2 cents to close out the short calls on Friday, and then you see the premium there that they've received. So overall, they brought in $713,000. Alright, so if we go over to the holdings tab. Alright, so here we can see the AMZ holdings, the two short calls, the 185, 187.50. We're underneath those 1 and 2%. The majority of the contracts are at the 187.50. So I don't know, we might have a possibility of some upside of, I don't know, 15 cents maybe for the short calls here. Looks like we went down 2 cents the other day. Didn't go down too much. Amazon itself. Doesn't seem right. Do we really only have, 5.8 million or 5.9 million outstanding shares for AMZ? For some reason, I thought it was a lot more. I guess not. I don't know. This is weird. I thought it was a whole bunch. Okay. Anyway, I guess it doesn't matter. I know it went up a lot for this last distribution, but I don't know. Haven't been tracking all of those. I only track them when we do the estimates or the weekly roundup, which I guess I need to do that. I didn't think about that. I had the monthly roundup I need to do. Also, I have the YieldMax estimate to follow up on. I don't know. I have a list of videos that I need to do and get caught back up before the trip next week to New York. I don't know what's going to happen then. But anyway, so we went over AMZ. Let's go over Apple. So it looks like Apple and Coney, they didn't close out anything. So let's just go over here. So Apple, they added 70 contracts to the synthetic position and created a new short call there with the 215 strike price. We're currently under that 1% or $2.51. Then we have the short call, which is crazy because this one just jumped like, I don't know, $15 or something, $20 this week. But anyway, the second one is 217.50, and we are 2% below that, which is interesting. I was looking at the prices over here on the left-hand side. It looks like Apple went down 1 cent while Apple went down, I don't know, $1.75 or something there. So it's interesting. But for upside here, we're looking at possibly 41 cents for the short calls for this next week. And then we have Coney here, so they use the 9,660 contracts here for this short call with a 257.50 strike price. We are currently underneath that 5%. We also have the short call for 262.50 and 265, and we're underneath those 7 and 8%. And honestly, we have our shares here, or contracts, split up a lot between the three of these. Usually you might have like two that it's split between, but this is quite a bit of shares at all three of them. It's because we have like 9,000, 10,000, and 5,000. So if we're looking at upside, I don't know. I still think we'll only probably have, I don't know, maybe 45, 50 cent upside here for the short calls, of course, and it could go up with the synthetic position. But looking over here, coin dropped about $3 while Coney dropped a few cents here. I don't know, 20-something cents. All right, so let's move on to Dizzo. I think we had trades for that one, or closed trades. So yeah, we can see here that we had two short calls that expired on Friday, 103 and 104 strike prices, and we closed a little under $100 there. They were able to close those out for 2 cents a share, and then we have our new short calls here, the 101 and 102 strike prices. They brought in a little over $90,000 on Friday. So if we look at the holdings here, You can see we actually have 3 because it looks like we already had one. So we had 3 short calls, 101, 102, and 103. We're below those 1, 2, and 3%. The majority of the contracts are sitting at the 102. So it looks like we have about a 30 cent or almost a 30 cent upside for Dizzo's short calls. And then Phoebe, so we must have had one that closed out there. So yeah. So they had a short call, the 512.50 strike price. Our new strike price is going to be 515 there. They paid 4 cents a share to close those out. They ended up bringing in $533,000. So we move over here. Apologize. This is going to take that a second to load. But it's weird. Meta there on the left went up. It's only like, 56 cents. Phoebe went up 4 cents. But anyway, you can see our new short call here now, 515 strike price. We're underneath that by 2%. And we have a possible upside of about 41 cents here for the short calls. I don't think we had any trades on GDXY, but let's double check. No, we did not. So we will be back. Come on, for GUI. Okay, so we have 2 short calls. Strike price at 34 and 34.50. We're underneath those 2 at 3%, and I laugh because we closed at 33.41. So we are underneath that strike price 2%, which is actually 59 cents, and therefore $1.09 on the other one, or 3%. Our contracts here are actually split up between these, so it looks like we have about a 16 cent upside for our short calls for GDXY. So we're going to move on to GUI. GUI, you can see the first 2 lines. We had 177.50 and 180 strike prices. For this next week, it looks like we have the same ones. 177.50 and 180. They just... this could be one that the day before we didn't use all the contracts. Possibly. Because, yeah, this one wasn't one that we had an error on, I don't think. Let's make sure. No. So that's new. Just trying to make sure it was good, which it should have been, because we only had one that's actually jacked up. I think it's the next one after this. I don't know if it's a typo, because we've seen that before, or if it's an actual mess up. But we have Google here. Like I said, and we can actually look just to check. Yeah, so here we can see GUI did not use all their contracts, because I highlighted those yellow there. So that's why it is more than what they closed out of. So anyway, they brought in $279,000 there on those trades. So for this week, we had the 177.50, which we're not even $1 up underneath that. We're less than $1. And then we have the 180. So majority of the contracts are sitting at the 180. So we're looking 15-20 cent upside for the short calls themselves. And JPMO here. Here's where we're having an issue. So let's go look at the trades. So here, the first 3 were closed out, and then the next 3 were opened. And so let's just go back to the day before. You see, we don't have any highlighted rows here for JPMO. Therefore, so let's look. So we have the 11.25, yep, and then that's 11.25 and 11.25. So we were good and we were even. They didn't have any extra ones. So when we go to Friday's trades here, you can see here the ones that they closed out equaled 1,105, which equals this 1,105. But they have 700 here and 215 here. So honestly, I'm wondering if this was a typo and this was supposed to be the difference between, 1105 and the other two, which is what the other two were 915. So I don't know what they did here. It's sort of odd, but this makes them over, meaning they have more short calls than they do have synthetic positions. Again, it could be just a typo, but you can see how the prices here, they cost 1 cent to close everything out from last week, and that's the premium they made right there. They brought in a total of 170,000. So when we go to the holdings here, you can see we have JPMO. So you see we still have 11.25 and 11.25 for the synthetics. But now for our short calls, we have 2,040. So again, a significant error here. Not sure what our upside would be with this either. So we will have to check back on that. Let's look at Murni. So Murni closed out of its synthetic positions, its short calls that expired on Friday with the strike prices of 152.50 and 157.50. They actually were down to 140. So their new short call is 143. And you can see they paid 1 3 cents to close those others out, and they received $1.54 a share for the premium there. So overall, they brought in 308,000, and we'll look at the holdings. You can see that short call there, but then we also already had one at the 150 strike price. So we're under the 143 and 150 strike prices, 2 and 7%. Of course, that first one, the 143, which has the majority of the contracts, we are underneath that $2.97. Looks like we have about 35-cent upside here for Murni. It actually took a significant hit on Friday. Look at that. It said it dropped over $5. And Murni itself, I think it even hit $17.50, because I think I had some orders out there for $17.50. I should look to see if I got filled. But I'd still expect this to go way back down. It may take it a while. I don't know. But I also don't want to miss out thinking it's going to go down, and then it never does go down to where I'm thinking. So I do buy a few along the way just in case. But Murni went from $18.27 to $17.62. So that's what, 58.65 cents it dropped. But anyway, I know a lot of people, I'm looking down here, the outstanding shares, and this is only like 1.7 million, so most people probably don't care about this one that much. But anyway, we're going to move on to MSFO. Alright, so we see synthetics closing out, which means the first thing I'm going to do is look at Microsoft's stock price, and then we're going to look at the short calls. So Microsoft's stock price was $442.57. I don't even know what happened with Microsoft this last week, but I missed something clearly. But all right, we had two short calls here when the strike prices were $427.50 and $432.50. So we were significantly over both of these strike prices, $15 to $10, or 10 to 15. So if we look over here, and that's basically, what they paid to close them out. So $9.60 and $14.92 there. So they got them a little bit less than what I said. But anyway, that was going to cost them over $2.3 million. So they ended up closing the 430 strike prices and move those up to the 445 strike prices, and they moved it out to August 16th, which we've noticed them doing that this week, that they've been moving out the expirations, which makes me wonder, is this a new strategy, or are they going to keep moving these out versus waiting until it gets close to expiration and then possibly having significant losses? We've had that before. AI was a great example of that. But that just started this past week, so that's interesting. That's the good thing about watching these, right? And every day you can literally see the strategies changing. So I think that's pretty cool. But anyway, so you can see for those synthetics that they closed out here, they ended up making $2.4 million, and then they ended up having to pay out $200,000 for the new synthetics. But we were looking at $2.3 million that we had to pay for those short calls. So anyway, after doing all of that, they brought in $177,000. So let's look at our holdings here. You can see all of that's new. Of course, it looks like we already had a short call at the 445 strike price. And then, of course, we have the 447.50 strike price. So we're underneath both of these 1%. So that 1% for the first one is, was at $2.43, which means almost $5 for the other one. So it's possible upside here of about 23 cents for the short calls for MSFO. Then we have Misty. Oh my goodness. Yeah, not sure what they did here. Okay, so I can see that added to the synthetic. So let's break this down. All right. That's weird, though, what they've done. It doesn't... I don't know. Maybe they combined stuff. So let's look at this. Alright, so if we add these numbers up, it's 1,462. So that's what we would have expected, to open up. But then, if you take that number plus the 57 at the top that they're adding to, that equals 1,519. And so then we have two new short calls, one with 1,500, one with 19. I have no clue why they did what they did, yeah. And if you look at this, and maybe that's because it's a typo. That's going to be my guess, because if you look, the strike price at the bottom is $1,610. Makes sense, right? The one with the 19 shares says $1,610.03. So I'm going to guess that was supposed to say 0 cents, and those two would have added together to $1,519. So that's my guess. And probably the reason that they were separate anyway was because they have different prices here, even though it's only 2 cents off. So anyway, lots going on there, right? But after all of these trades, they ended up bringing in $4.8 million. Man. So then let's go look at the holdings for these. Sorry, I don't know, sometimes I click that button when I shouldn't be, or that check mark. Alright, so what were we doing? It was Misty, right? I forget so easily. Yeah, we were doing Misty. Alright. Let's make this a little bigger. So you can see here where it has the new and the added and everything. So we have our synthetics there. So let's just look. We have our 1550 synthetics. And then we have our two short calls that are separate because if one has 3 cents and one doesn't. I wouldn't be surprised if this is corrected next week to be combined together. But we have those. It's interesting though, looking at the prices on them, they're different almost by $1. Doesn't make any sense. Like one says it's worth $28.43 and the other one says it's worth $29.50 and they're 3 cent difference. Alright, anyway, I'm not going to dwell on it. We'll just, we'll look at it this next week and see if they correct that. But we have the 1610 and the 1650 strike prices, obviously with the majority sitting at the 1610. And we actually closed right under $1,500. Looks like we did go up a little bit on both sides there. But we're underneath those strike prices, 7 and 9%. We're looking at about $1.95, $2 upside there for the short calls. And then if we go look at Netflix here, again, we see synthetics being closed. So let's look at our stock price. So Netflix was at $669.38. And I don't know what happened with this one either, but this one took off last week, but I don't remember hearing any news other than the fact that it was going up. So $669. And then let's look at our strike prices. So our strike prices that expired on Friday were $650. So we're almost $20 over that strike price, and $657.50. So let's go over here. And we ended up paying for the $650, $21.45 to close those 840 contracts out. And then we have the $657.50, which you paid $14.20 to close out. So to close these two is going to cost $1.83 million. So they've changed the synthetic from a 650 strike to a 675 strike and moved that out to August. They brought in, from closing out the previous strike, or the previous synthetic, $2 million. It cost them $220,000 to open the new synthetics. But overall, they brought in $315,000 there. I'm sorry, I don't know why I keep doing that. So let's look at the holdings for Netflix. It's doing that. We get this next one already. Oh my goodness. Alright, so Netflix here. So, when looking at the stock price, because it's sort of the first thing that fails, and Netflix went down 5 cents on Friday, while Netflix went up $16. But, so we have the short call here, the new one, $687.50. We're currently under that by 3%. We have about a 45-cent upside for this short call. Alright, let's move on to NVIDIA. That one looked like it was going to be fun. Being sarcastic, obviously. Okay, so we see synthetics. So let's look at our prices. So NVIDIA closed at $131.88. The strike prices were $125 and $126 that expired on Friday. So we were over those strike prices by almost $6 and $7, right? $7 and $8. So let's see. So we paid $630 to close out one, which had 30,000 contracts, and then $5.14 a share for the one with 3,800 contracts. So to close out these short calls, it was going to cost $21 million. So what they had to do is go to the synthetic that they had, right? The 113 strike price. It looks like, we're going to fix that 113.01 since we had, again, an entry of 113 and then 113.01, so they didn't go together. But you can see that Okay, so you'll have to add these two together to get that. And they brought in, by doing that, $63 million. However, don't get too happy, because to do this new synthetic, look how much money. They had to pay $43.6 million for the call. So that one actually cost them $18 million to do that. So a lot's going on there, but in all, they brought in $28.1 million. So if we look at the holdings, yeah, so there's a mess up here, because, and I'm sorry guys, you know I don't review these until we actually go through them on the video, so I don't always catch errors beforehand. So here, the strike prices, they put 113.01 on both of these, and those are the puts, right? So let's look at the holdings the previous day. Yeah, you see here at the top, these 30,000 did not have the cent behind it. So on the trades, it should have said 113, but it didn't. So once the custodian gets the data, they just process the data that they're given, right or wrong, right? They process it. So that's what's happened here. So we have now this one has 30,000, this one says negative 30,000 because of this and this. So this should be cleaned up next week, but this should not be here. So disregard that. So all you should see here is we have the 55,550 contracts there. Same thing here. And then if we add up our two short calls, 55,550. So disregard the top two lines, as that is just because there was a typo on the trade sheet that was sent to the custodian. And that's it. Monday they'll probably call, or I don't know if they'll email, but they'll do whatever and they'll probably get that fixed. Of course, they haven't done that on some of these that are on the holdings, but that's all good. Anyway, if we're looking here, upside maybe 30 or so cents. I don't know, maybe more, maybe even close to 40 cents. The majority of the contracts are sitting at the 137 strike price. There's 34,000 contracts. We still have almost 22,000 sitting at the 135 strike price. So I don't know, maybe 40 cent upside here for the short calls. We will see. And I'm looking, it looks like the stock price went up a couple of dollars for NVIDIA, and NVIDIA went up like 25 cents. All right, so let's move on to OARC. Whew. OARC, they did not have any closed. PayPal did not have anything closed. So, hey, how did that happen? All right. So, I honestly don't remember seeing this last night because I was working in the garden the whole time, to be honest. And I just came in and everything actually had loaded. I had no issues. So, I just copied the data and then I saved it. I didn't even pay any attention that they actually fixed the link. And I know I'd sent Jay the email, I think, the day before, but I'd also submitted a thing on their website. So somebody fix it for us. Yay. And just in time for us to actually have trades here too. So that's awesome. So anyway, we weren't even supposed to be on that, but I was so excited to actually see trades there. All right. So we did NVIDIA. So let's look at OARC here. So it looks like we're actually having people buy into OARC. So 315 contracts added to the synthetic. and a new short call with the 44.50 strike price, which are under 1% currently. We also had the 45.50 strike price, which were under 4%. And it looks like upside here, possible 38 cents for the short calls. Then we go down to PayPay. They used the extra contracts that they didn't use the day before. So that's the 1865 there. So we have 3 short calls for this next week, 62.50, 63, and 64. We're underneath these 3, 4, and 5%. The majority of the contracts are sitting at the 62.50 strike price. So we're looking at about 24-cent upside for PayPay for the short calls for next week. And then we go to SNOY. So let's go over here. I'm so glad that got fixed. So SNOY here, we have the 2 short calls that were going to expire on Friday with the 131 and 132 strike prices. They paid 2 and 3 cents to close those out. They didn't roll those. They have those for this next week at 1 strike price, which is 131 strike price for the 195 contracts. Overall, they brought in $23,000. It's odd we don't have a lot of buy-in for this one at this point. I understand, lots of people want to, wait and see how one goes. Similar to Misty, and a lot of us missed out on a lot of stuff there. If I was you, I just suggest go look at the underlying. Go out there and look at the charts, look at the data, see where Snowflake is actually at. Because a lot of people don't know about this company and what they do and what's going on with it. So I would say check the charts and, see if snow is something you want to invest in or invest in through it using SNOY. But we don't know. It could go down. It may not. I can't remember what the 52-week low was on Snowflake. I did look it up the other day, and we had actually went up some. So now I see we're up a little bit more, but let me just look here real quick for you. Well, I think I'm going to look. If I have internet signal, it'd be nice. Or if I had cell phone signal. There we go. Alright, so the 52-week low for Snowflake is 124.69. So we were just like $1 something from it on Thursday. The 52-week high is $237. And I can't remember. My guess is going to be earnings is why it dropped. And I say that because I own some, and I'd like to buy things when they drop on earnings. So yeah, there was a significant drop here. It looks like in March. That's actually when they first bought in. So on February 28th, they were at 230. February 29th, they opened at 181. So they dropped to $50 overnight based on earnings. Looking in my Moo app on my phone, Snow does have a buy. It looks like 75% buy and about 20-something% hold and a tiny little sliver of sale. But it has a target price of $200. Actually, it says like $201.74. I'm sure it's an average. Shows like a low of 125, or actually that says the 3-month low, 125, and then the 3-month high of 240, and the average of 201.74. Let's see, Wells Fargo on June 12th has a target of 225. Citi has a target on June 12th of 236. Bank of America $200 target June 11th. And I didn't realize this, but Wells Fargo and CD had a buy ranking, while Bank of America had a hold rating. And then Morgan Stanley had a hold rating with a 175 target on June 10th. So, yeah, just to give you a little bit of information on that. But you can go, look up a lot of this stuff themselves. But don't know if, most of you probably don't know this, and I probably should have just done a separate video, but I didn't plan to get into this. But this is a cloud data platform, or it says the company's cloud data platform is an innovative technology that powers data cloud. The company's platform enables customers to consolidate data into a single source of fact to promote meaningful business insights, build data-driven applications, and share data. This would be awesome for government systems. Our stuff's always so complicated. But anyway, yeah, maybe y'all might want to look into this one a little more. Like I said, the outstanding shares have not increased because this is the standard 2.5 million, 125,000 outstanding shares that they do when they start up. So I don't even think I went over any of this because I started talking about the companies and the prices. So I apologize for any of you that did not want me to go through all of that. But we have a short call here with the 131 strike price, which are currently under by 3%. And we have the possibility of about a 59-cent upside for the short call for SNOY. So let's see. SQUE here, we had two short calls expired Friday, $66 and $70 strike prices. It looks like our new strike price is going to be $64. Looks like they paid 1 and 2 cents to close out those short calls. They brought in $296,000. And then if we look at the holdings here, we can see that first short call was the new one, the 64. We also had the 65 and the 67.50. We're currently under all those strike prices, 3%, 4%, and 8%. The majority of the contracts are sitting at the $64 strike price. So we have about a possible upside of about 51 cents here for SQUE for these short calls for next week. If we move on over to Tesla, they closed out the short calls. They expired on Friday, 182.50 and 185, and it looks like our short calls for next week will be 185. So they just rolled those, and then you can see there they paid 73 cents and 33 cents to close those out, which is interesting. They must have done that at a higher part of the day. They ended up closing at 178. So anyway, they brought in $8.85 million there. So if we look here, we have that 185 strike price, which we're under 4%. We have a possible upside of 57 cents for Tesla. If we can get to that strike price, which is actually pretty awesome if you think about it, 57 cents, that gets us to 15.60 something. That would be pretty awesome to get to that. Because didn't we just drop down to like 14 something because of the... Oh yeah, and it actually had just recovered its dividend. But then I think it went slight down, went back underneath it on Friday, but it had recovered its dividend last week. But anyway, so let's keep moving on because we are almost done. So then we have Zomo here. Looks like they added. So let's just, the crash also added. And then we'll come back for YBIT. So let's just look at our holdings. So you can see here for Zomo, they added 40 contracts to the synthetic and created a new short call for next week at the 110 strike price. So we also have the 1130, which my guess is these are extra ones that they had that they didn't use on Thursday. Yeah. Whew. So we can see that they didn't use all of those, so that was them using the rest of them, the difference between those two numbers there. So that short call is 111, and we're underneath that 2%, which actually, let's go back. The 110, we're under 1%. Well, 1% is 89 cents. And then, of course, this is 111, so it's $1.89, $2.89, and so on. But, yeah, so we have the 112 strike price also. So if we look, the majority of the... most of it's basically split between the 111 and 112 strike price. So it looks like we have about a 14 or so cent upside for the short calls themselves. And then we have crash here. Tesla went down, so crash went up. So that's right. And then, oh yeah. So they added 25 contracts to the synthetic. So up here, this does say new, but that's because, again, now we have an issue where we're splitting because we're not doing the right price. So they had 170 and 1 cent versus just having, let's see, where's the put that goes with that right here, 170. So these should match, these should be together. So that's why it says new, because the strike price is 1 penny off from what's actually on the holdings. But then they added through to the short put and to the long call. Alright, so something's not right. So let's actually go look at the holdings. Yeah. So here there's only 4 entries. So for some reason on this other side we have 5 entries. We have 2 entries for the synthetic. So we have the synthetic put, synthetic call, synthetic put. So this one should not be here. There we go. I'm not sure how my formulas are set up to have brought that in. Alright, anyway, so they've added 25. So now our outstanding shares are actually going up on crash, and probably because everybody saw Tesla going up and everybody knew Tesla was going to come back down. So, yeah. I know I could say I bought some of these when I saw it. I bought them, I don't know, maybe $19 or I don't know, it was something. Anyway, so now we have YBit. This is our last one. It's how we know we're at the end. So we had 4 short calls that expired. 25.50, 27, 27.50, 28.50. And they were all rolled to 25.50 for next week. Looks like they paid 1 cent for all of them except the 25.50, and they paid 8 cents for that one. And they only received 28 cent premium, so that's not really a lot. Alright, so if we look here, we see this week we have our synthetic and our short calls expiring. If we close both of those out Friday, it would cost almost $10 million to close out, which is like a third. Well, I guess not a third. Of course, it's already calculated in here. Oh, because I'm not looking at the whole thing. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so that's, like I said, the the 10 million's already in the net assets. But it's like, if it wasn't that negative rate, you'd be positive that number would be at 30,000. So it's like a third. But anyway, so if we can go up to 2550, which it says we're 3% below that, but that's only 81 cents. But we have a possible upside of 57 cents for YBIT. Man, it's at 1802. It dropped 48 cents. This is just not looking good for YBIT. I'm just going to be honest with you. Since I've been doing YBIT, I don't know that I like it. Let's see if I have this set up. I think I did it, but I could be wrong. I need some internet to update this data for me. Might not have great signal this second, so that's a problem. Because it looks like I did set it up. It's just not wanting to pull through unless I just really screwed up my formula, which I'm not trying to look at that or trying to whatever that. My guess is I just need internet for the data to pull in. So look at that. All we had to do is close it and open it back up. Oh no, we're losing signal. All right, so let's just look to see where we're at now. Of course, I know it's at the end of this video, but I'll scroll down so you can see all of those for the week here. So we have YBIT and YBTC, so these are our covered calls, monthly payouts. So again, I'm looking on the right hand side is where Bitcoin was. I feel like maybe I need to put it on both sides here. But it looks like most of the time, Bitcoin was down, YBIT did better. And then if Bitcoin was up, YBTC was the one doing better. It's funny, BITS is green right there. Column P. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, all week it was like green, so it was the best. Of course, when we look at the top overall, we actually have some negative here, which is odd because we haven't had any negative, which then also makes me wonder, we're only mid-month. I think we do have one dividend that normally pays mid-month. So let's look. So here, so Maxi paid out 15. Well, we're in June though, so that's what we're worried about, June. So unless these just haven't updated. So this one looks like it should pay out maybe next week for BTF. This one doesn't. Actually, this one will pay out at the end of the month. This one, these were at the beginning of June. So BitX will be, I guess, next week. And then same thing with Maxi. So it looks like we may have several of these coming through next week. But I just find that odd that those we have several negatives when we haven't had any like that before for Bitto, Maxi, and Beth. So if we look at Bitcoin, though, I guess we do have significance over here. We have down 2% this day, and then we had down 3.1% that day. Down, shoot, this is why I like my pointer. Yeah, I guess I can use that. So yeah, the 2, the 3, and the 2. Of course, when I use that, I can't scroll or do anything. We haven't had any down days like that, at least not since like May. We had a 3 something and a 2 something %. So anyway, yeah, so the ETH one is still doing the best, even though it's only at 4.7% now, and it was double digits before. And then we have bits here. And then, of course, the two with the Bitcoin and the Ether combined. And then the other three with the Beth has Bitcoin and Ether. Max and Bitto are Bitcoin only. But our worst ones, though, out of all of those, of course, are going to be the 2 times leveraged over on the right, down 10% and down 8% overall. And then we have the covered calls, pretty much the next worst, which is YBit, down over 5% there. Of course, overall, this shows Bitcoin is down 0.5%. So not sure what's going to happen here, what's going on, but that's where we are there. Now, if you just wanted to see, like, numbers as far as rankings versus, you know, the actual numbers. So we can see where I was talking about bits there, where on the other one it was all green. You see 1111. It was the number 1 for the week every day. So, alright, anyway, I told y'all I would show y'all this at least once a week. Nobody else seemed to make a comment whether they wanted me to do it every day or not, so here we are doing it at the end of the week, at the end of this video. But anyway, I still need to do the daily roundup, so if y'all watch that one also, I will see you there. I will talk to you later. Bye.